All right, let's dive in. Vietnam's construction industry is going through a massive digital shift, and right at the center of it all is BIM, or Building Information Modeling. In this explainer, we're going to tear down the official government guidelines and rebuild them into a clear, practical blueprint you can actually understand and use.
So here's our game plan. We'll start with the basics of what BIM even is, then look at who's on the team and what their jobs are. From there, we'll get into the master plan, the digital workspace where it all happens, the specific rules for building the model, and finally, we'll look at the end result of all this work.
Okay, first things first. Before we get lost in the weeds with rules and roles, we need to be on the same page. What exactly is BIM, at least according to the official guidelines in Vietnam?
Now listen closely to this definition, because the emphasis here is what's really important. It is not just about making a pretty 3D model. The official definition frames BIM as a whole process. It's about digitizing all of the project's information to support the entire life cycle, from the very first sketch all the way to running the building for decades. You see, the 3D model is just the container. The information inside is the real treasure.
So why go to all this effort? Well, the payoff is absolutely huge. We're talking about projects with way better quality and fewer mistakes, projects that get done faster, and with a major boost in productivity. The key is catching problems in the digital world before they become expensive, real-world headaches on the construction site. And it doesn't stop there. The long-term value is creating this incredible digital archive to manage and maintain the building for years to come.
Right, so a successful BIM project isn't some magic trick performed by one person with fancy software. No way. It's a team sport. And just like any good team, everybody needs to know their position and exactly what they're responsible for.
The guidelines basically split the main responsibilities into two camps. On one side, you have the investor. Think of them as the team owner. They set the vision, they define the why of the project, and they get the final say. On the other side, you've got the implementation unit. These are your players, your architects, engineers, and contractors. They're the ones in the trenches, creating the detailed game plan, managing the teams, and turning that vision into a digital reality.
Okay, so if the investor sets the destination, the BIM execution plan, or BEP, is the detailed roadmap that literally everyone on the project follows to get there. You could say it's the single most important document for a successful BIM project.
The guidelines lay out this really clear 6-step journey. You start with the big picture, defining your goals. Then you create the master plan, the BEP. It's only after that solid foundation is in place that you assemble the team and start the heavy lifting of actually building the model. And the final steps, they're all about quality control, checking the work, approving it, and finally archiving that digital asset and learning from the whole process for next time.
Now that all sounds great in theory, doesn't it? But how does it actually work? How do you make sure those big, high-level goals you set in Step 1 actually get achieved when you're deep in the modeling process in Step 4?
This is where the BEP really shines. It creates a direct strategic link between what you want to achieve and the tools you use. So, for example, if a top priority is to slash costs, the BEP will specifically call for using the model for 3D coordination to find clashes early, and for 5D cost estimation to keep an eye on the budget. Want to keep the schedule on track? Then you'll use 4D simulation. The point is, the tools don't drive the process. The results you want drive which tools you use.
Okay, so you have your team, you've got your plan. But where does everyone actually work? Well, that brings us to the digital construction site, the Common Data Environment, or CDE.
The CDE is the project's single source of truth. That's it. It's one central, online hub where every single model, drawing, and document lives. This completely eliminates the chaos of trying to track down the latest file in 100 different email chains. When you grab a file from the CDE, you know you're working with the right one. And the CDE isn't just a messy folder. It's highly organized. The first area is called Work in Progress, or WIP. Just think of it as each team's private digital workshop. The architects have their space, the structural engineers have theirs. Here, they can work on their models, try things out, and refine them without messing with anyone else's work. Now, once a team is ready to show their work, they move their model from their private WIP area into the shared zone. This is where it gets exciting. It's the first time the architectural model, the structural model, the plumbing model, all of them come together. And this is where you can run checks to find clashes, like a pipe that's trying to run straight through a steel beam. So, after all the issues found in the shared area are fixed and the model gets the official thumbs up, it gets promoted to the published zone. This is the official library.
The information here is locked in, it's authorized, and it's ready to be used for the real deal. For construction, ordering materials, you name it.
And to keep all of this from becoming a total mess, the CDE uses really strict version control. A draft that's still being worked on might be called version P01.01, but once it's approved and shared, it becomes simply P01. This simple little system provides total clarity. Everyone knows instantly if they're looking at a rough draft or an official document, which is just critical for preventing costly mistakes.
All right, let's get into the nitty-gritty. When you have all these different teams working in one shared space, you need some very clear, very strict rules for how the digital model itself gets put together. Consistency is absolutely everything.
It starts with something as basic as a file name. The guidelines demand a strict naming system. Every single file name is built from these specific pieces of information in a set order. What that means is you can look at any file and instantly know the project, who made it, what part of the building it's for, what kind of file it is, and what team created it. It's a surprisingly powerful way to keep thousands of files perfectly organized. Next up is a huge concept, the level of development, or LOD. This is so important. LOD basically defines how much detail and reliable information is baked into any part of the model. It's a way of specifying exactly what you can and can't trust that model for at any given stage of the project.
This timeline shows you how a model literally grows up. During the concept phase, a column might just be a simple box. That's LOD 100. As the design moves along, it gets approximate dimensions at LOD 200. By detailed design, it has precise, accurate geometry at LOD 300. And finally, at LOD 350 or 400, it has every last nut and bolt of information needed to actually build it. It's a roadmap for the model's maturity.
So, after all that, after defining the plan, organizing the team, working in this structured environment and following all these rules, what do you actually have at the end of the day?
Let's boil it all down. First, and this is the big one, BIM is a structured process, not just a piece of software you buy. Second, a solid plan. That BEP is the absolute foundation for success. Third, those clear rules for the CDE, for file names, for LOD, that's what ensures your data is actually reliable. You put all that together, and the result isn't just a 3D model. It's a high-value, trustworthy digital blueprint for the entire life of the building. Following these guidelines clearly leads to better, more efficient projects, but it also brings up a much bigger question. As this structured, data-first approach becomes the new standard, is Vietnam's construction industry really, truly ready for the full-scale digital revolution that it promises? That's the billion-dollar question for the entire industry.